So can I put my home in a trust to hide it from my spouse in an event of a divorce?
You wish. No, you cannot. We do get some people trying to plan for their divorce, and so they will start moving assets.
Hmm.
That is a definite no-no.
Yeah.
And so it'll just cost them more money in the long run because now we're going to have to go through more discovery, trying to pull assets back into the marriage. And so we will have to get the experts involved to say, how was the trust created? And so we'll have to bring an attorney like yourself in to kind of explain because I am a family attorney, but I know I can bring those assets back into the divorce process. And so I will have to consult with you and have you as a consultant in our divorce. And so it's costing all parties more
More
money
money.
than needed.
Yeah. And that's the biggest question we get all the time. We have clients who come and say, well, I'm going to set up an irrevocable trust. I'm going to put my assets in it so she can't touch it. And it's
Yes.
like, that's not how it quite works.
Yes,
You
yes.
can't just hide assets.
People think they can start hiding, and so they'll start doing it maybe a year, a little bit longer than that, maybe between a year or two into thinking of a divorce, they'll start planning ahead. All that can come back into you can't erase, right, what the past held, and there's paper trail, and so
Yeah.
we will see who it belonged to prior to that, and so we will be able to grab that.
But what about a Wyoming trust?
Oh, wow. So again, it's just going to cost you more money. All
Yeah.
that is a marital asset. If no prenuptial or no postnuptial agreement exists,
Hmm.
right? And so if you are starting to hide assets, whether it's from bank accounts, again, there is always a paper trail. And so not even Frank Abagnale can escape that paper trail. You get caught eventually.
Yeah.
And so it's just a matter of time. It may not happen in the first 3 months of the divorce process, but the spouse that does not have that asset knows it existed and
Yeah.
they will be persistent and all that research will come out.
Yeah. And even if they don't know existed, I think like, as an attorney, as yourself, a family attorney, that's your job. That is
Yes.
your due diligence to go ahead and discover those assets. So people would think like, oh, I'm gonna have a Cayman Island trust and all
Yes.
these strategic things. And it's like at the end of the day, she will find it.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you will have
Yes.
to put her the divorce.
We become many forensic
FBI agents.
accountants and we become FBI agents, all that. We definitely, private detectives, we find it all. Because again, it is what you think is easy to hide. You put it away and you think, oh, nobody's going to catch me. We've seen it all before
Yeah,
in all types of divorces. We've seen it all. And so you cannot hide, it'll come out.
it'll come out. So the question, another to kind of pivot, we have a lot of people, I don't know if you're familiar with the term island divorce, where essentially they get separated,
Mhm.
never officially got divorced, and living different lives, right? Does Florida even honor, right, legal separation? Because they have the mindset, well, I don't live with her, and
Yes.
they're moving somebody else, and they assume that this person that they're living with and that they have common law marriage is going to inherit everything. So talk about that.
Yes, so in Florida, there is no legal separation. And so if there is no divorce, there is no final judgment, you are married. And so the court can determine what is in the best interest of the family and what is just, right? And so what is the equitable distribution? How will that affect both parties? And so they're going to look if the property was purchased 20 years ago and we've been separated for 20 years, that other spouse didn't put anything into it. And so they can determine, yes, it is just to put the separation date 20 years ago versus today when we're filing. But is it always the case? Not always. And so you're running the risk of staying separated from someone, starting a new relationship, and all those assets being divided. And again, it's going to be costly because the other person is going to want to benefit.
Of course.
And so it
And is there
is
such a thing as even common law marriage in Florida?
not at all. And
Because
so
people come to us like, well, we're married. I'm like, legally married? Well, we live together and we present ourselves as husband and wife, so we're married. And it's like,
yes.
no.
Yes, yes. So we've had those questions as well, and I've had clients that come up to me and said, "Well, we're getting divorced now, and we need to discuss the children issues." And when I start asking more questions, they really aren't married.
Married.
And so they're saying, "Well, we've been together all this time, we're living together." No, that does not apply here in Florida. We have no common law marriage. And so if you have not been married, legally married, you are not married.
Yeah.
The assets do not get divided.
Yeah. And I think that's a major thing for us as estate planning attorneys when people come to us and they think, well, if I'm living with this person, thinking the whole common law marriage that they can inherit. And same thing applies. If you have not finalized that divorce, your ex current wife gets all of your assets.
And that has happened where someone passes away and that spouse is still inheriting
Yeah,
everything because they are legally
they're legally
married.
married. And
Yep.
I think that's the major things. Like, if a lot of times to ask that question, the typical "it's cheaper to keep her"
Yes.
concept, right? Well, we've been married for 10 years. So talk about what does that look like when someone has been married for a while and they have retirement accounts, for example. How does that play into a divorce, and why sometimes they may not do a divorce because of that?
Yes, so you have to look at the tenure of the marriage, right? And in Florida, the laws recently changed where a short-term marriage is 10 years or less.
Okay.
A moderate marriage is
Short term. Oh
between,
my gosh.
yes,
10 years.
10 years. It seems
That's a
like
life
a long
sentence.
time. I know. And 10 years to 20 years is a moderate marriage, and
Okay.
above 20 years is a long-term marriage. And so when you're looking at dividing, how long have you been at your job? How long have you been saving? 401k, or whether it's a Roth IRA that you've been saving on the side, when you come and look, how much is the other party entitled to? And Florida is a 50-50. Equitable distribution will be 50-50 unless a prenup or a postnuptial agreement exists. And so you are looking to pay taxes, possibly, right? What are those tax implications if you're making a withdrawal, if you're not just rolling over, right? And you can address that with the clients a little bit more, but those are definitely considerations that need to be taken into account when you're looking to get divorced.
Yeah. So sometimes it is cheaper to keep her.
Yes.
Maybe.
But if you think about it, these are assets that you've accumulated together as a
Over
married
the years.
couple.
Yeah.
And so you are looking to this future with this person, retire with this person. And so it is definitely one of the, sometimes they're a housewife or a stay at home parent. And it is not fair, right? It's not just for the parent that worked to say you don't get any of it. You
Yeah.
both contributed,
To the marriage.
you
Yeah.
both put efforts into the marriage, you both raised these kids together. And so just as you're entitled to half of the time sharing with your children, even though you were working all the time,
Yeah.
so should the other party be.
Yeah, it's equitable. It's not just when it's convenient for you that we
Right,
should make sure that it's quite equitable, but
right.
it's on all parties,
Yes.
which is very important. And going back to the prenuptial agreement conversation, making sure you address that as far as the asset, at least, to see who gets what.
Right.
Um, for us as estate planning attorneys, when we draft a trust, for example, we also addresses that, but not more so in the divorce part, but inheritance, right? But to say, for example, your heirs, are they going to inherit, or do you have someone else in mind to leave that to?
Mm.
Um, is that something that you guys can do as far as prenuptial? I know it's more of estate planning tools, but I've had a clients that ask, if we do the estate planning tool, and I for sure do not want her heirs to inherit, how does that work?
Yes, so we will, there is a section in the prenuptial and postnuptial agreements that will address um, after death, right?
Okay.
And so we try to mirror whatever it is, even if they don't have any estate planning documents at this time,
Hmm.
we hope that they will seek your assistance in the future. And so we will put that in there as a placeholder
Gotcha.
to state what it is that they're wanting to do, what their desires are. Once they go meet with you as an attorney to draft other documents, it should mirror that. Or if they change their mind, okay, then we'll revise our end. But there is a carve out section for that part.
Gotcha. Which makes sense because you want to make sure that, again, addressing all possible scenarios to make sure, okay, what are your true wishes?
Mm-hmm.
Because things could change. So when we think about, divorces and everything else, and again, back to estate planning, business assets, how does
Yes.
that work into it? Because a lot of times we have clients say, well, I'm going to go ahead and create a trust and put my business in there, and that's going to protect it from metal asset. How talk to me about that, because that's not my field, right? I stay in my lane, estate planning. I refer the family questions to you.
Yes. So the business is also a marital asset. And so you will have to again determine what is that marital portion. Because any efforts during the marriage, marital asset. You work, you receive a paycheck, that is marital efforts that were put forth to gain those wages. And so it's going to be a marital asset. And so businesses work the same way. If you have your own business, what if you have partnerships, what is your portion? And that is the marital asset. And
I
so
think I
you're
need to
going
hear
to,
that again because I think that's the biggest things. Like people think I have an LLC, it's under my name, I'm the sole member, so it's not marital asset.
it's definitely a marital asset. And so we will need to bring in a forensic accountant, and we have other professionals that we bring in as part of a divorce, depending on the complexity of the divorce process. And we will bring the accountant to determine what is that marital portion. And so it gets divided, it gets attributed to one of the spouses, and that's how it starts.
Gotcha. And another way to avoid that is by making sure you have a postnuptial or a prenuptial.
Correct, because you are stating ahead of time who is keeping that asset or the liabilities, because it, again, works both ways. If the business is under, right, it's upside down and there are no profits, you're responsible 50% of
Of
the
that,
debt of that
yeah.
of that business, and so you want to make sure you're addressing those beforehand.
Yeah, definitely. So any client that comes to us and have that idea, we want to make sure, yes, we can do your estate planning and do your trust and all of that, but understanding that aspect of it to say, okay, yes, it's not just it's my name and my business. I'm putting my own trust so she can touch it.
Right.
We are attorneys. We're not magicians. We can only do so much. Our goal is just to educate you and making sure, right, you know all the aspect. Like she is well versed in family law. Estate planning is my lane. We stick to our lanes and we make sure we have you speak to the expert to make sure you are protected and your wishes are, well rounded.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that conversation because I think that is the biggest thing we have. A lot of the misconception is about, what is marital asset? How can I protect myself? And of course, you cannot. Can you please say it again that you cannot do a trust?
You cannot hide your assets. They will be found.
She will find you. Well, thank you.
Thank you for having me.